This is the Dynasty Roundtable podcast. Tonight, we are here to do a 4-round rookie mock draft. All the pieces of the puzzle have been filled in. We know the landing spots, and it's time to let the people know exactly how their rookie drafts are going to unfold. Right, Matt Babich?
Yeah, I mean, we have the definitive truth. We're 3 days post draft, and I'm happy to report that Seth and we have all the answers. The test is solved. We use ChatGPT, we got the answers, and we're here to present them to you. No, of course.
Hold on.
Kidding aside,
I'm gonna you talk. I'm gonna turn on my light. I forgot to turn on my light, so we'll leave this in. Don't worry.
We obviously don't have all the answers to the test. But Seth and I just did a rankings episode, and I think through that conversation, what we really found is the media pundits are going to tell you, the draft capital zealots are going to tell you that this class is bad because of the draft capital that played out. But we're here to tell you that there's still a lot of value on this board. I said it to my friends the other day, and I don't know how many drafts I've truly said this. I know we get the rookie hype every single year, and so maybe there's an internal bias I'm not paying enough attention to. I think this year, for one of the first years, 1 through 24, I would love every player I would select at any of those at any spot, 1 through 24, and I would love it at cost. And then there's a lot of value in the third round. I was talking to a fellow Bears fan, not Seth, about their backfield. And, what if they don't make a splash at any free agent and Kyle Monangai ends up being, maybe a number 2 option or even a 1B? I mean, that's someone who in the 4th round of your rookie drafts could be an insane value from the pass blocking. Like, that's going to get him a role. So Seth, what do you think about the rookie class? I've said my piece.
I think, as in any rookie class, I think you got to zig where other people are zagging. So I think some people are panicking, and I think you touched on it. The first 2 rounds are pretty solid. I think you can get some good players in those rounds. And surprisingly, it's not the running backs for me. It's some of the wide receivers, and we'll get into it, that landed really well. And I think it came back to, generally speaking, in Dynasty, wherever there's hype, you want to be able to take advantage of that hype. And the hype was on the running backs. And I will be the first to admit to you, to everybody watching this, I bought it hook, line, and sinker. This is a great running back class, and I still think it is. And John Lobb was on here, and he told us, he basically predicted the future. So shout out to John. He said that this would happen, that there's so many good running backs in this class that NFL teams are going to view it like, okay, well, if our guy's not there in the 4th, we can wait to the 5th. I mean, that's exactly what the Bears did. They got sniped a couple times. I have it on good authority that if Travion Henderson was there in the 2nd round, they would have taken him. Guess what? You pivot to Luther Burden, who's the best player available, and then you trade down because you missed out. Same thing happened in the 4th round with Cam Scatterbo and Bashul Tootin. Guess what they did? They're okay, we're going to miss out on that tier. We'll trade down, and eventually they did draft one, and you touched on it. Kyle Monangai is exactly the example, I think, of a player. I mean, because we've seen it happen before. It's not crazy. I mean, look at last year. Bucky Irving, Tyrone Tracy. I mean, Kyle Monangai. I mean, Isaiah Pacheco. We've seen running backs get drafted late and produce in the right situation. And Kyle Monangai's in that situation. I think he has just as much talent as the running backs ahead of him. I do. He doesn't fumble. No college fumbles at all. He holds the ball high and tight, just like you should. I'm sure Ben Johnson loved that on film. And you mentioned the pass blocking and pass protection. That's going to be a huge factor to his game. I mean, Roschon Johnson is on alert because Kyle Monangai is not your grandfather's 7th round pick. He's much, much better than a 7th round pick. And in another class, he would have been a 4th or a 5th round pick. I really believe that. So we're going to get into it tonight. We're going to chop it up. and we're going to talk about some of our sleeper targets that we're going to be identifying. And I'm gonna kick this off because I guess I won the backstage coin flip, the Genty, and that was not a surprise as we kind of talked about in our ranking show. I mean, Genty's been the 101 since November, and he's still the 101. So I'll throw it to you. 102, Matt Babbage.
My 102, now that he is a part of the Jacksonville Jaguars, traded up to number 2. I have an A+ landing spot for Travis Hunter. This was my path throughout the entire offseason, right? You could probably pull up a mock draft on this channel or Seth's channel back in November, December. This is where we were putting him. And our stance was he is simply an incredible wide receiver prospect. Now I'm not going to be the perfect situation happened. He went to a team where James Gladstone, the GM, spent 5 minutes talking about how well Travis Hunter fit in that receiver room, what he does for that offense. He spent roughly 0 seconds talking about how well he fit into the defense as a cornerback. He said immediately his primary focus is going to be on offense. My projection is exactly what I said all along if I were an NFL GM or head coach. I want him as a full-time receiver on offense, and if he can get there, I would love to start him out getting in some third down defensive back heavy packages. Because what an option for you. Big third down comes out and you have a all-American cornerback that you play at receiver that trots out there and is able to lock someone up. You can't get that kind of, even that level of duality is something the likes of which we have not seen maybe ever since Dion, played, roughly half of the offensive snaps, I believe it was back in 96. So this is a generational player, and his path is exactly what we wanted it to be to get this type of draft capital in rookie drafts. I understand what Brian Thomas Jr. did last year. What we have to realize is there is room for 2, and it is by no means solidified that Travis Hunter is not going to be the best receiver in that room, because I think as a receiver prospect, in my opinion, he wins out. So I'm just thrilled with this landing spot, and I don't think you can make a more fun pick in the first round besides Genty.
Yeah. Did you mean Hunter or both? Because you said Genty at the.
Well, yeah, I'm saying like Genty,
okay.
Even in Las Vegas, like that's a very fun pick to make. So like those two are like the pinnacle of fantasy football is fun sometimes. Like Hunter in Jacksonville, Genty in Las Vegas. So 2 of my favorite landing spots of the entire draft, just because they're going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I was checking my underdog exposures today because I did some of the pre-NFL draft.
You were drafting a lot of Hunter, weren't you?
I think the exposure is close to 50%.
There we go. That's what's up.
Because it was, and who knows if I assume he's going to have a role on defense as well, but. You said it. This is a smash landing spot for him. We said it from the very beginning that if we got an inkling that he was going to be a wide receiver, at least most of the time, let's just say 70% of the time, that he would be our wide receiver 1 in the class. And he is, checking my rankings here, he is my wide receiver 1 in the class now. So there you go. I don't know if that's a hot take. I don't know how you guys feel in the chat. Let us know. Comment below. Tell us how dumb we are. But Travis Hunter for me is that dude. At the 103, I'm just going to make this simple. I mean, if you need a quarterback, this is the caveat I'll make. If you need a quarterback, I give you permission to take Cam Ward. I'm not a big Cam Ward fan, though. But I will admit to you that Cam Ward is really the only quarterback now, and I like Jackson Dart.
Did you make the right pick here?
Yeah, I did. I
just ruined your entire segue to Aaron Hampton. I'm sorry.
You ruined my flow, but it's okay. So I would give you permission here to take Cam Ward simply because there's really no other quarterback that I absolutely trust in this class, because Shador Sanders, obviously his value absolutely tanked, and it's going to be fascinating to see where we pick him. I can't wait till we get to that part. But because that's going to be an awesome discussion, because I was talking to Fizzle Dollars on the South Harmon channel last night. Shout out to Fizz. You could go like and subscribe over at the South Harmon Vibes channel. That's a fun new channel. It's literally the coolest show I've ever been on. He had so much music and fireworks. It gave me so many ideas for this show. But anyway, back to the point. I give you permission to take Cam Ward if you need a quarterback at the 103, because I think that's the perfect spot to take him. But Omarion Hampton going to the Chargers is higher in my rankings personally, because I'm not a huge Cam Ward guy. I think he's fine. I think he's okay. But and at his floor, I mean, his floor, because he's the number one overall pick, he's going to start likely 3 to 4 seasons. But if it doesn't go well, Callahan could be on the chopping block, and then who knows, right? But Omarion Hampton is a beast. He is going to be involved in year one, round one draft capital with the Chargers. I mean, need I say more? He's a better player than Najee Harris. I think he's more talented than Najee Harris. So I will throw it to you at the 104, Mr. Babbage. What are you doing there?
Now, I also give you permission to take Cam Ward here, but I think going to Carolina, where the targets are wide open, playing with a quarterback in Bryce Young that I think has a good chance, as good a chance as any. If you want to stare me in the face, if you want to be in the comment section and tell me that you think a guy like Justin Fields has a better shot at being a reasonable or an average or better quarterback next year than Bryce Young, you're fooling yourself. Like I really think that Bryce Young, just let's forget all the numbers, right? We watched every game last year, the two of us. The difference in watching Bryce Young from the first half of the season to the back half of the season is two different quarterbacks. And I really think Dave Canales, like, whatever happened behind closed doors when he was benched and they took a step back, it worked. And it's very clear that Dave Canales believes in Bryce Young. And it's very clear that that belief has taken onto Bryce Young. He knows that he is believed in. He is starting to believe in himself. He has a staff around that can help him identify his mistakes, correct his mistakes. They now have a new analytics department that, from their draft, proves that they are miles beyond what they were the past few years as an organization in terms of decision making. So them putting their stamp of approval at 8 to Teteroa McMillan, we're looking at that primary boundary receiver that we saw Mike Evans assume in that role in the Dave Canales offense. And that is something he's going to fit like a glove in that offense. And getting Bryce Young a bigger bodied receiver who can handle more contested catch opportunities, that's going to help the offense. That's going to help Bryce Young. More passing attempts, more sustained drives. All this spells good news for Teteroa McMillan, and he is my firewall now for before Cam Ward.
Yeah, if you kind of look at what Bryce Young was doing in spurts last year, I think it's very intriguing. He was benched in week 2, officially came back as the starter in week 8, took a few snaps like in week 7 and week 5. But when he came back against the Denver Broncos, 64, almost 65% completion percentage, 224 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. Not bad by NFL standards. I mean, made a couple mistakes, but you have the week 13 performance against Tampa Bay. The completion percentage wasn't there, but threw for almost 300 yards and a touchdown and rushed for a touchdown and finishes the quarterback 8. And then week 16 against the Cardinals finishes the quarterback 2, 27.1 fantasy points. And then if you're a sicko and have your championship in week 18, there was no better quarterback than Bryce Young, finishes the quarterback 1. So I think that there is enough there now around him. I think that they are putting pieces together And Tedero McMillan also, think about the target share there. I mean, outside of Xavier Legette, Adam Thielen, there's really not much else there for target competition. So I don't hate it, but I'm gonna take Cam Ward, and that's probably who I would have taken if I were you, just because I honestly think, and you let me know what you think of this. I think Cam Ward got more valuable, even though we knew he was going at the 101, just because of the positional scarcity. Because if you need a quarterback, you kind of have to draft Cam Ward in this class because there's no guarantee that Jackson Dart is going to start games this year, and there's no we you all everybody knows how we feel about Tyler Shuck, but if you don't, we think he sucks. So I don't know where else you turn other than Cam Ward. So I'll just leave it at that. Turn it over to you to respond or make your pick at the 106.
Yeah, I think that's fair. When I approach these kind of mock draft videos that we do, I think, situation agnostic. Like I'm ranking my prospects based on where I project them to be, a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now. So that's where I think the caveat of like if you're sitting at the 103 and you need a quarterback, then like Cam Ward is a fine pick. You're good. And that's why rankings are in everything. Like if you're going to stare down the barrel of rankings at the 103 and you want consensus belief that you should take Cam Ward based on rankings, you're probably not going to find that. Like maybe he's the consensus 103. I don't know. But sometimes you have to that's where you have to take your own need into account and say, yes, Cam Ward might be, in their opinion, the fourth, fifth best prospect, but I'm sitting here at the 103. I can't get anybody to trade back. I do, though. I want to contest a little bit. There are other options. If I'm sitting at the 103, I'm going to try like hell to get any other quarterback that I can. Plus, if you're a rebuilding team, I think one of the bigger mistakes you can make, like an NFL team, is drafting for need. Taking Cam Ward because you feel like you have to. And then what happens when Cam Ward sucks? Like I was excited as shit to draft Anthony Richardson. Look how that turned out.
Yeah.
So, I mean, these things happen. And like you're sitting there at the 103, like, is it that unreasonable to go try to trade for Anthony Richardson, Justin Fields, like try and get a couple of backups like Justin Fields and Daniel Jones? Like, let's scrap something together, figure it out. We'll take Hampton. We'll take this incredible running back. We'll suck again. We'll figure it out next year. So I think you can operate a lot like an NFL team in that aspect too. So, I mean, just offering a different kind of point of view here for that situation.
Yeah.
But for my pick, and I'll keep this short and allow you some more time back for your next pick, your response. Travion Henderson. A little bit of a shocker going to New England. Henderson himself didn't know that New England was scouting him as seriously as they were. We had a talk on our ranking show and our draft summary where we talked about Henderson in New England versus Chicago. And I think we'll all agree that Chicago would have been the better landing spot. But New England is not a bad situation to land in. Now, Stevenson's contract has an out at next year, and I don't think they're going to take it. I think Stevenson will be a Patriot next season as well. But I don't think that stops Henderson from being a bell cow in that offense. They did bring in Antonio Gibson. They committed to Ramondre, but then didn't commit to Ramondre, and back and forth. And through 3 different coaching staffs, really, 3 different regimes, no one's really given Stevenson that stamp of approval. And for them to go out and get a really good pass blocker and 3-phase running back in Travion Henderson, I mean, that's a clear stamp of like second round capital. They've got somebody that can do everything that Ramondre Stevenson does, but better. And they don't lack what he lacks in terms of pass blocking and things like that. So Henderson is still wheels all the way up for me.
2 things. Number one, you're absolutely right. I would much prefer to trade Cam Ward away. And these are the list of quarterbacks that are ranked below Cam Ward right now and keep trade cut. Baker Mayfield, JJ McCarthy, Brock Purdy. I don't know how you feel about him, but it's a lot more stable, at least to me. Bryce Young, Jared Goff. And I think you could get something on top of those quarterbacks for Cam Ward. So if you need a quarterback, that's the direction I would go. Dak Prescott, I'll throw another name out there. You're exactly right on Trevion Henderson, and I've been thinking about this and going back and forth on it pretty much ever since the NFL draft ended, because you can ask my wife. I was on the edge of my seat, standing up, pacing around, just in I don't even know what the right term is, waiting, because Trevion Henderson kept falling. And when Quinshon Judkins came off the board, I got nervous because I knew Trevion Henderson would come off the board
next
soon after. And I did. Out of all these teams, once it got to the Patriots, I just thought the Bears are getting Trevion Henderson because there's no way the Patriots are taking him, and because they have Ramondre Stevenson. I don't know if he's a Vrabel type running back. He's a little bit undersized, pass catcher. And when they took him, I might have scared our son yelling expletives because I wanted him really bad with the Bears. Like he's a damn good running back, and I'm happy the Bears got Burden. That was a nice consolation prize, but I really wanted Trevion Henderson, and I think it's a signal to us in the Dynasty industry, community, whatever you want to say, whatever cliche I can throw out there, that taking a running back that high signals to me that Vrabel is all in on him. Because it's an interesting, like, Vrabel had Derrick Henry for all those years, so he never had to worry really about the running back position. I think maybe they brought in James White, maybe during Vrabel's time there, as maybe a backup. I can't remember exactly.
Yeah, that was back in the day where they kind of just scrounged whatever they had together. And then I think he might have been around for LeGarrette Blount. That might be too soon. My long-term memory is fading at this point in my life. I have too many things to think about.
At the ripe old age of what, 25?
25.
Just going.
I don't think he was around for LeGarrette Blount. Now that I think about it, that was too soon. I don't think he got into the organization at that point.
I thought LeGarrette Blount was with the Buccaneers, but I could be wrong, and then went to the Patriots. But
I mean, Blount went to the Patriots, but I don't know if Vrabel was on the coaching staff at that time.
Oh yeah, I don't know either. But the point I'm making is, I don't think they make this pick if they don't have plans to use Trevion Henderson. Maybe not as a 3-down back, but pretty damn close to that. And I understand you have Stevenson on the roster, but Henderson's better player. So yeah, that's my long-winded way of approving the pick. But go ahead.
Quickly, I read an analysis a couple years ago, and draft capital has the most significant impact on weighted opportunities per game with running backs. Mm-hmm. Like running backs drafted in rounds 1 and 2 get fed the ball. Like it's just it's a fact.
Yeah. Yep. So with that being said, I'm going to take Quinshon Judkins here. I think even though the offense is probably going to suck, he's going to get the most opportunity. I think Dylan Sampson pairs really well with him, but I think I would be lower on Dylan Sampson in this situation just because I think Judkins, with Nick Chubb being there for so long, fits the offense that is already built to run with Kevin Stefanski. So, and this is an offense that's going to lean heavily on the running game with whatever quarterback they throw out there, whether it's Kenny Pickett, Joe Flacco, if they have to see what they have with the rookies. I would not be shocked if Dylan Gabriel takes snaps for them this year. It wouldn't surprise me one bit because they are a dumpster fire. But Quinshon Judkins is a bell cow and a stud, so that is going to be my pick. Throwing it to you at the 108. Mr. Babbage.
Yeah, don't know if I'm fully there with Judkins yet. I'm a couple of spots lower on him than you are, mostly because of Harvey and Caleb Johnson. I had Harvey above Johnson in our previous two episodes, and I think I might have gotten in front of my skis a little bit. I started thinking a little bit more about Caleb Johnson in Pittsburgh. And now I'm waffling a little bit between the two of them. I'm going to go Caleb Johnson here. I think I want to make the call and I want to flip him because Tomlin, for as long as Jalen Warren's been there, we've had the pro Warren people that wanted, more touches, this, that, and the other. Truth is, he just works better as a small workload satellite back. It's what he is. It's what he profiles as. And so they let Najee go after all this time of feeding him. And then they just go out and say, what if we got a better Najee Harris? What if we did that? And that's what they did. They got a bigger bodied running back who is faster and a more elusive and more juiced up runner than Najee Harris. And he's going to be that primary guy. He's going to be that guy getting 12, 15 carries a game and you're like, whoa. Why is Caleb Johnson getting 3 to 4 targets a game with Jalen Warren? We're going to be having that conversation most likely because that's how Tomlin has always worked his system. And the same thing goes for RJ Harvey. And that's why it's like a battle of two processes here. And I feel like they're so close in my rankings. It's almost to me like a matter of luck who ends up being the primary guy. I think I could see the situation of RJ Harvey getting less touches than we imagine versus Caleb Johnson. Like I think that the ceiling might be higher for RJ Harvey, but the floor seems a good amount higher for Caleb Johnson and his projected opportunities.
Yeah, I think, and I was debating somebody in our comment section this afternoon about this, and he's saying, RJ Harvey's better in every statistical category, and I'm not exactly sure what statistical categories, whether it's just the raw counting stats or the analytics or whatever you're pointing to, but on tape, I'll just say this: Caleb Johnson to me is the better player, and we could go back and forth on that all day long. And I think the situation for both is incredible. Obviously, the draft capital, edge, RJ Harvey. Honestly, Matt, in this range, and I know somebody out there is going to say, oh, this is horrible analysis. We come to you for these types of answers and decisions. But sometimes when the truth is what the truth is, you just have to tell the truth. And the truth is, pick your guy. From 6 to 9, Trevion Henderson, Quinshon Judkins, Caleb Johnson. I prefer Trevion Henderson. I think we both do. We prefer Caleb Johnson over RJ Harvey. But if you are pounding the table, if you are just sure that RJ Harvey with Sean Payton in that offense is going to be the second coming of Marshall Faulk or whoever you think it's going to be, then take him. Fine. Prove us wrong, but that's the truth, man. That's as good as I can say it, because in my rankings, these guys are all super close. And I think maybe you froze for a second there. I
literally have Henderson Johnson, Harvey, Judkins as of right now. I have them. I'm all back to back to back. I think for me, it's more 7 through 9. Like that's where I have more trouble. I'm very confident in Henderson being at the top of that group. But again, like what you said, just, go get your guy.
Yeah. And initially I made a video on my channel that I regret. I had the tight ends ranked over RJ Harvey. And looking back on that, I don't know what I was thinking. It was a ranking show literally right after that I recorded right after the draft. And it's one of those where when we do these sometimes, and I can be honest and say this, sometimes I make rankings and then I go look back at the rankings after I do a show or after, something happens and I go, why the hell did I do that? And that's the kind of reaction I had when I put RJ Harvey behind the tight ends, because first of all, I'm not a tight end guy. And secondly, RJ Harvey landed in about the best situation you could possibly imagine with the draft capital that we love. So, yes, RJ Harvey's my pick here. I'll shut up and throw it to you at the 110 because we're 30 minutes in and we're not even through a round yet. So we gotta hustle.
So at the 110, man, this is where it gets it gets dicey because there's so many profiles that just have their ups and downs. But you mentioned that you don't think Jackson Dart starts any games this year. I contest that, because if Jackson Dart is Brian Dable's job saver, if they have a losing record at some point midseason, he's going to start games. It's going to happen, because the answer is going to be Dable. This kid better be good or you're done. And I know that's a scary situation to be as a head coach, but Brian Dable pounded the table for Malik Neighbors. He pounded the table for Jackson Dart. He developed Josh Allen. I know we're getting further and further away from that, but this is the first quarterback he's picked in New York. And he's got Malik Neighbors. He's got Wan'Dale Robinson. He's got Darius Slayton. I know that's not the most attractive set of receivers, but that will be able to get the job done in terms of fantasy production. And you have Cam Scatterbo and Tyrone Tracy in the backfield. So you're going to have a run game. We saw, as bad as they were, they found ways to stay competitive despite having one of the worst quarterback situations imaginable. They were competitive in some of these games, and they're retooling their roster. I think they had a good draft. They got Abdul Carter, so that's going to help their defense. I think Jackson Dart's in a good spot, and I think with Golden and Egbuka and Burden all being in some interesting situations, I think he rises the ranks a little bit here.
That's an interesting thing you just said, and I won't go too far into it because we're already behind schedule here. But I think that Jackson Dart is the classic, hey, but give us time to develop him and we will type of player, because he's in a perfect situation. I don't think he's going to play right away, because the longer that you can prolong, the longer you can hold off playing Jackson Dart, because he's the golden ticket. He's this kid, if we hit on him, he saves our jobs type of player. So if you're the head coach, you don't want to throw him out there right away if you can help it. Now, I get it. If Jameis is throwing 3 or 4 picks a game, if Russ sucks, then you might not have a choice, and maybe that's what you're saying. But if I'm Brian Dable, I'm trying to buy as much time for this kid to sit as possible. But that's just how I would approach it. At the 111, I think I'm going to pick my now tight end 1 just barely over Tyler Warren, and that's Colston Loveland. I'll be the guy who...
we're in tight end premium. I always forget that.
We
always do Superflex rankings and then do tight end premium mock drafts, and it always catches me off guard.
Well, you can have both. You can do both. But I think that, and here's my theory on this, and I'll be brief. I think the person that's hurt most in this crowded situation right away is Luther Burden. And long term, he's probably going to be fine. But Colston Loveland usurps Cole Kmet in the tight end room. He's a better player. He's going to be used, I think. If you take him top 10, which is what the Bears did, that signifies to me he's going to be your tight end on the field in 3 wide receiver sets. So, and last year, if you look at last year, the Bears used Gerald Everett quite a bit. And I don't know what Cole Kmet, what's going on there with the Bears and why they don't use him as much as they should, because I think he's a pretty solid player. The Bears are definitely going to use a lot of 12 personnel with these 2 guys, but Colston Loveland is the Bears starting tight end. Mark it down. Luther Burden is the Bears wide receiver 3. That's just, and so I think the target share might be there for Loveland. Now it's going to be up and down. It will. I mean, just look at Sam Laporta's year last year. But at the 111, you're getting a tight end with top 10 draft capital, kind of a set it and forget it type. I get it. He's a rookie, but I in this offense, I think I like Loveland quite a bit.
I think calling him a set it and forget it option already is getting ahead of ourselves, because I just find it interesting. All right. Brian Windhorst meme, why would Ben Johnson draft and Ryan Poles draft Luther Burden in the second round, and then Johnson immediately hit the press and talk about how important the slot receiver is in his system and how targets just naturally find the slot receiver. So it's just interesting. I mentioned the last time we talked about Loveland how I could see him being more of a complementary piece, an extension of the run game type of necessity, where Sam Laporta was a big part of that offense, even though he was not overwhelming you with target volume. Now, to your point, he finishes the tight end like one his rookie season. So clearly there's a ceiling there. I just think there's a lot to be determined in the Bears offense, and I'm not sure I'm ready to call Loveland set it and forget it. I'm going to go with who I debated at 110, Matthew Golden. It is kind of a first round draft capital kind of bump, but he was very high, or at least near the end of the first round in our mocks beforehand. Quinn Ewers really hindered this Texas offense, so it was tough for you to really see what Golden can truly bring. But what we do know is he is a fluid route runner that can beat deep defenses. So this pick really signals Watson's going to be obviously out for a while. They're replacing that type of role within their offense. But at 23, they really went out and in my opinion, went for somebody who they thought could be their target leader. And I'm going to go with where the NFL is making their calls, and I'll get to why as we talked about some of these other receivers.
Yeah, I'm not gonna waste any time. I would take. In fact, I will actually. I'm. This is a role reversal from how these mock drafts usually go. Tyler Warren here. I just think there's the opposite of Loveland. There's hardly any. I mean, he's going to be their starting tight end. There's no doubt about it. And you have Michael Pittman and Josh Downs and Alec Pierce, but he should be able to carve out a target share. I get the quarterback situation is less than ideal, but you do have a slight insurance policy there with Daniel Jones if Anthony Richardson just sucks. And Daniel Jones isn't horrible. So I'll throw it right back to you for the 202.
I will go with Emeka Egbuka. This is a talent play for me. They did pick him 19th overall, but just the fact that he's going into this offense with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, who are both, albeit aging, like Godwin still has he just signed a 3-year deal. They got Jalen McMillan that they just drafted and hit on. So it's very confusing, but the talent profile is there. The draft capital is there. The reason he has been bumped down a little bit is simply because this is a JSN Robodunze situation that could be even scarier. Like he may not get the opportunity in year 2 that we want out of a fantasy wide receiver 1.
Yeah, and now it gets really interesting with some of these wide receivers, but I am going to take Jaden Higgins. He gets the draft capital that we want, and landing with CJ Stroud playing opposite of Nico Collins. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that in my estimation. I get it. Jalen Noel, they took in round 3, but he's going to have to compete with Christian Kirk for snaps. I think Jaden Higgins' role is solidified in that offense. So that's why I have him over some of these other wide receivers. But I'll throw it to you to the 204.
Yeah. Personally, I mean, I wanted Jaden Higgins to land in a spot where he would play inside more, and that did not happen if he's going to be competing with Christian Kirk and Jalen Noel there. So that does scare me. I look, it's silly. Give me Luther Burden. Come on, man. The wide receiver 3 in Chicago is not, being drafted that high in Ben Johnson's first year is not worth all this. I love the talent profile, and I think he slots in as that primary slot receiver. DJ Moore can play slot, primary outside guy. We know this. Odunze is more of an outside receiver, boundary play. So my worry is that they do a lot of 2 wide receiver sets, and that keeps Burden off the field a lot. I have gone on the record briefly before and will briefly say it again. I think the Bears run less 12 personnel than Johnson did in Detroit simply because their offensive build allows them to do so. In fact, if you take into consideration their running back room, it probably benefits them to be a little bit less dependent on 12 personnel, because quite honestly, at the end of the day, if you're going to make defenses, the defenses aren't going to respect their run game. So it's going to be a little bit harder to get the 12 personnel packages to work the way Ben Johnson wants them to if they can't run the ball well. So I tend to believe that Luther Burden might be a better fit for how this offense is. Now, I could be a fool. I don't know, but that's just how I see things.
Yeah, I think long term this is fine, but in the short term, I think it's very similar to the hiccup that Roma Dunze had last year. But we'll see. It's a brand new offense with a much better play caller, obviously. I'm gonna take the probably the chalk at this point. Trey Harris landing with the Chargers. It's a perfect pairing, to be honest with you, with Justin Herbert. Obviously, Lad McConkey's there. I'm not scared. I know they brought back Mike Williams, Quentin Johnston. They were obviously frustrated with his inability to catch the ball last season. So the fact that a Jim Harbaugh team went wide receiver in the second round probably tells you all that you need to know. Like, they need help at that position still. They hit on Lad McConkey, and I'm betting here that they hit on Trey Harris too, because I think Trey Harris is a little bit different than some of these other Old Miss wide receivers. I don't think he's Jonathan Mingo. Okay, I think he's a lot better than that. So I'll throw it to you at the 206.
At the 206, it's between two running backs here, but I'm gonna go with the running back where I just think he's better. It's gonna be a struggle with the fit necessarily, but Bashul Tutin out in Jacksonville. I know you're gonna say, but they have Tank Bigsby. Okay, Tank Bigsby is slow, unathletic, and not that good. Not worried about him. Okay, well they have Travis Etienne. All right, Travis Etienne's been on the team for 3 years. He's gone through multiple different regimes above him, and the one before this last one drafted Tank Bigsby, and at certain points in the season abandoned Travis Etienne, benched him. He was getting injured again. He can't seem to stay healthy. And then this new regime drafted Tutin. They were big into RJ Harvey as well. So what I take from that is they were looking for a running back big time. And they weren't just looking at let's just take a Kyle Manung guy whenever we can. They wanted a running back. And they went out and got somebody who they think is just as electric as RJ Harvey, but at a cheaper cost. And when we look at the talent profiles of the two running backs, like the name is big for Travis Etienne, but the talent is not.
Yeah, I said this on our last show. I think Bashul Tutin could earn the starting job. I don't think that that's crazy because new coaching staff, obviously new general manager, they took him pretty high on day 3. So we'll see. I'm gonna take Jalen Knoll, and this is a bet on the talent. I get it; it's the situation's crowded there in Houston, but I want wide receivers tied to C.J. Stroud. So I think it's that simple, and I think long term, he is their answer in the slot. So having Nico Collins with Jaden Higgins, basically just call them the Iowa State Texans. Um, so I love it. I'll throw it to you at the 208.
I'll take Cam Scattaboo here. He's the other running back I considered. Landed in a good spot. I mean, him and Tyrone Tracy, and given what each lack and what each have a surplus in, great fit. But he's going to be that goal line back. He's going to be the short down and distance. He's going to be the first down ball carrier a lot of the time. I think there's a path. As much as I like Tracy, there's a path for him to be a dominant toucher. And if I'm wrong about his talent level and he's better than what I think he is, I mean, dare I say he has bell cow potential. And a 75-25 split with Tracy. If Scatabo truly can be in both phases of the game as good as he showed at Arizona State his senior year, it's not out of the equation. Maybe a 10th percentile outcome, but
yeah, no, I absolutely think he could. That's another great landing spot, honestly. I mean, if you're going to land anywhere in day 3, I think the Giants would have been amongst the top options, because I think he could beat out Tyrone Tracy. I think at the very least, it's going to be a split. And look, I know some people. I don't have Cam Scatabo in my top 24 rankings because I just prefer where some of these wide receivers landed. That's not a knock on Cam Scatabo. It's just how it unfolded and what I think the likelihood is of him really hitting in fantasy football. So the 208, I don't mind it. It's a little bit I probably would have preferred maybe a quarterback, maybe a tight end because they landed well. But maybe I'm too low on Cam Scatabo. Let us know where you have Cam Scatabo in the
You
chat.
were all about this running back class. And then even the ones that get good landing spots, you're like, yeah, but the Texans drafted Jalen Noel as their second wide receiver off the board and their fourth receiver on their team. So what about him? Like, I
Yeah.
feel like you switched up your process.
I loved Roshan too, man. Look where he is.
Okay.
Just saying, day 3 running backs typically. I mean, I know there's exceptions. I know everybody's gonna say, "Oh, Bucky Irving, Tyrone Tracy." Obviously, 100% of the running backs
Day
on day
three
3
receivers don't
hit.
really hit
Day
either.
3, he's not a day 3 wide receiver. He's a day 2 wide receiver. In round 3, that's really talented.
Wasn't he a
So, and a
round
good
3 comp pick?
79, pick 79.
So
So I
yes.
don't think that's a comp pick.
Oh
The
wait,
comp picks are
79.
like in the
Yeah.
hundreds. So
Oh wait, sorry, I multiplied by 2, not 3.
yeah,
Not a comp pick. Not a comp pick. That's mid third.
no, I understand it. Like I said, maybe I'm too low on Cam Scatabo, but guess what? I'm gonna take another wide receiver just to show you that I can. Kyle Williams, baby. Kyle Williams lined up with Drake May. I mean, outside of really Stephon Diggs and Demario Douglas, they didn't really address the tight end. So Hunter Henry's safe. I like this landing spot for Kyle Williams in the early 3rd round. I mean, you could talk me into taking him ahead of Jalen Noel. I just like the talent of Jalen Noel better. So yes, I'm going to continue taking wide receivers because I think that that's where the value is. I'll throw it to you at the 210.
I I hear what you're saying. I think there's value in both places, and you're starting to become a little bit too much of a draft capital pundit.
Mm.
Uh, we literally laid out the why the draft capital was suppressed on these running backs and how it's not necessarily a testament to their talent or the team's desire for them, but more so just the surplus of need within the draft. And I just personally think that we need to take that more into consideration with our rankings. But time will tell who is right. I will take Jalen Milroe here. I think it's time. I think now that you got me mentioning it, I do think Milroe needs to be a couple spots higher in my rankings. He fell to a great spot in Seattle where he has a good offensive coordinator. He has a good defensive coordinator as a head coach. He's got a stable organization there, a good GM in John Schneider, and a team that is kind of retooling, putting things back together, but does have talent on that offensive end. And took Jalen Milroe in the 3rd round, near the end of the 3rd round, and took a statement that they're going to give him a shot after Sam Darnold, and starting games this year is not out of the equation.
All right, I will take Jack Besh, and I'll just continue to take these loser wide receiver. I mean, 2nd round to the Raiders. If you take a look at what they have there, Jacoby Myers. I know they have Brock Bowers, but there should be a decent target share of opportunity for him in year 1. And I'm honestly kind of surprised he fell this far. So they're not loser wide receivers. I was being sarcastic, but anyway,
I
go
have
ahead and
Besh
pick.
3 spots above Kyle Williams there at 20. So I did go down to take Jalen Milroe over Besh there. So I think that says where I actually have Milroe ranked. But I'm going to go with Terrence Ferguson here, exactly 24 on my ranking. And I know you're a big Mason Taylor guy. I really love the landing spot in Ferguson with the head coach and the offense that he's in. The quarterback will be exchanged here at some point, but the Rams are kind of in that perennial win now position. So I have a feeling that they're going to not truly hit the reset button when this Stafford run is over, but give me Ferguson.
All right, I'm just gonna do it. So we've talked enough about Tyler Shuck, but I'm gonna end the drought here, and just gonna, I don't know, I'm just gonna completely burn a pick right here
You're
because
lucky. We're so deep.
I'm just lighting the 301 on fire with Tyler Shuck because I don't know what the Saints are doing. I don't think the Saints know what the Saints are doing. They don't know how to rebuild. They don't know how to win. All they know how to do is be a completely average franchise. Who dat? Like who mid is what they should be yelling.
Oh
Like
my.
Jesus Christ. Uh, I'll throw it to you at the 302.
I'll take Elijah Arroyo. Again, I know you like Mason Taylor. I think Arroyo is more known for pass catching and is in an offense that is going to be better and passing the ball more. I think he starts as a pass catcher at some point this season. I think he becomes the target favorite over Noah Fant. Maybe I'm being too hopeful. Maybe I don't understand the position well enough, but I think drafting him in the second round is a big statement, especially for a team that has tried like hell to get Noah Fant to work and simply has not been able to ever since they traded for him.
Yeah, well, since I have tight end already filled, no, I'm just kidding. I am going to take Mason Taylor because I from a target share perspective, I like his landing spot with the Jets. From just an overall perspective of his landing spot, I don't love it because Justin Fields is not going to throw the ball a lot. Now, those two things probably, they probably cancel each other out. But again, this is a team in the Jets that's going to be heavily reliant on the running game. And the fact that they did not take a running back, the fact that there was all this talk about them trading Breece Hall and then they didn't take a single running back in the NFL draft, it was shocking to me. Like that was the biggest smokescreen ever. And honestly, wheels up for Breece Hall. I know the receptions probably won't be there like they were in years past, but he's going to get a shit ton of work. Like, because like that's just how these offenses with running quarterbacks go. It's just how it is. So I'll throw it to you. 304. Matt Babbage is on the clock.
I'm gonna go with Woody Marks. It's a surprising spot for me, as I have not really been saying his name a lot this offseason, but he lands in a backfield in the 4th round behind Joe Mixon, who is going on to his age 29 season. And over the course of his career has played 14, 14, 16, 6, 16, 15, 17, and 14 games. He has one 17-game season in his long career. So there's going to be most likely opportunities for Woody Marks to be a starting running back for the Houston Texans this year, should he win out. And he got a stamp of approval from a lot of analysts. I just didn't get the time to love him, I guess. I just didn't fall in love with him. But the spot in the draft capital, I think, could line up for a decent value here in the early 3rd round.
Yeah, I think if you take a look at what the Texans have on their depth chart, he's probably somebody I need to move up because it's just Dare Agumbawale and Damian Pierce. And obviously Joe Mixon's the lead dog there. And if he gets hurt, like Woody Marks is going to be in that conversation. But I'm going to take Dylan Sampson. I think this is probably where we're going to see a bunch of these running backs come off the board. Sampson, I mean, if anything happens to Judkins, I guess Jerome Ford's there, but I view Sampson as a more dynamic runner than Jerome Ford. So to me, he's the immediate backup. Now, will he earn that role right away? Probably not, because Jerome Ford has familiarity with the scheme and the coaching staff. But I think this is more of a long-term play and a stash and wait, because Dylan Sampson does have a ton of juice. I think he just needs to sit and learn, and I think he's probably going to get that opportunity. So I think that there's probably going to be an opportunity, even if you miss out on Dylan Sampson, to buy back in a year from now at a cheaper price. So I'll throw it to you at the 306.
I'm going to go with Elikai Manor, and he's someone who I wanted to be taking a lot higher and someone who I'm still a little scared of because drafted behind at the same team, Kamari DK from Florida. Now, DK's more, from my opinion, what I know about him, seems more like a deep threat decoy than anybody. I'm not sure why that type of profile gets you drafted ahead of a fluid route runner and an early young producer at Stanford like Alec, but still drafted in the 4th round. There's a lot of opportunity to rise in the ranks of Tennessee, and I'm going to bet on Alec's talent at 1.5 rounds lower, or at least a full round lower than where he was going a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I was so sure that he was going to go in round 2, round 3.
Me too.
Like anyway, yeah. So he has to fall here. I will. It's going to be between a tight end and a running back, and I'm just gonna I know that this landing spot sucks. because the offense is going to suck. And this guy, again, I could be lighting this pick on fire, but and Harold Phantom was not one of my favorite players. I think I had him as my tight end 5, and I'm getting him here as the tight end 6. David Njoku's there. We don't know who the quarterback's going to be, but this is just a bet on a guy who was a super producer in college. So I think that's about all I can say about it. 308, Mr. Babbage.
It's gonna maybe be another shocking pick, but a guy I haven't talked a lot about that I love the landing spot, and that's Jalen Lane.
Okay.
4th round receiver from Virginia Tech to Washington. I wanted Egbuka to Washington. I thought that made so much sense on so many levels for their team, but instead they get Jalen Lane, who was a relatively solid producer at Virginia Tech, but incredibly fast and has that mold, like is comp to Kadarius Toney on Player Profiler. He has that dynamism where he was playing as a returner for special teams. So if they have this like little gadget guy that could maybe, fill that slot role, when Debo is ineffective or out, I think Jalen Lane is a guy who, especially with Debo's injury profile, could be thrust into a decent role in year 1.
Yeah. I who knows? Day 3 wide receivers always kind of scare
Brother,
me.
It's all day 3 picks now, man. I don't.
I don't know. I will. I'm speaking of a day 2 pick.
You want Ty Felton?
I think that this is really interesting as part of the draft because I'll just tell you this right now. I'm not going to take him, but this is where your league mates are going to think about pulling the trigger on Shedeur Sanders. And I was talking with Fizz about it. I'm going to take Dylan Gabriel because I 3rd round draft capital versus 5th round draft capital. I know because I think that your league mates are going to think that Shedeur Sanders is clearly just going to beat out Dylan Gabriel. And I don't know if that's the case. And I'm going to follow the draft capital. If you saw those Cleveland Browns, the brass in there after the Shedeur Sanders pick was made, it's almost like somebody was holding a gun behind the camera and saying, clap, you guys. You gotta look excited. Okay. They did not look excited about that. That signals to me that Jimmy Haslam at some point said, we got to draft this guy. We got to take a chance on the upside. He probably did the same thing when they traded and extended Deshaun Watson. So, like, that's just a dysfunctional franchise, and I get it. Dylan Gabriel probably doesn't have much of a chance, but I think he's got some upside, and I would draft him over Shedeur Sanders at this point. So I will throw it to you at the 310. I'm sure Shedeur Sanders is
Devin Neal.
Probably going to get drafted at some point, but anyway, Devin Neal. Devin Neal.
6th round pick, Saints, day 3 running backs. But he's going to have an opportunity to crack up the depth chart, especially with Kamara probably in his last year as a Saint.
Yeah, and I'm going to take an upside swing on Jaden Blue. He winds up with the Cowboys, and I know he's got Javonte Williams in front of him, but man, he's dynamic, and I think all he needs is an opportunity to show everybody that he can really play. So I'll throw it right back to you.
Yeah, I'm gonna take Ollie Gordon, and I'm not gonna feel super good about it. But Achin, small guy, injury profile with a lot of touches. I think Ollie does a lot. What Achin, they don't want Achin doing a lot of in between the tackles, like extensive goal line work. So I think Gordon actually landed in a really good spot for him, despite being a 6th round pick.
Yeah. I hear you.
I mean, obviously, we would have preferred him be in like the Saints situation, but like if he's gonna get put behind a starting running back, like Cam Scatabo, like or something like that, like at least have it something where you kind of set yourself apart in some way.
Yeah, I'll take I believe one of the last. There's a few day 2 guys left. Ty Felton,
many good ones.
Yeah, there's some wide receivers.
I like Ty Felton a lot, but it's the landing spot. Like he's.
Oh, I know.
You're gonna tell me that Jordan Addison isn't gonna get like franchise tagged or something. Like I guess maybe they get rid of him, but like we're talking what? Okay, 2 to 3 years then. Ty Felton's gonna be the number 2 in the offense, but 4th round pick, completely different
Yeah.
story.
Yeah. 402.
Jalen Royals.
All right. It winds up with the Chiefs. I don't mind it. I'm gonna take a guy that I think it's very interesting. On the surface, he's probably buried, but Jarquez Hunter, I like the player. The more I watched of him, the more I liked. And if you think about the running back room, it's Kyron Williams, who we know had fumbling issues towards the end of last year, and Blake Corum, who only saw a 20% snap share or more twice all of last season. So I think Hunter could earn some opportunities, even though that on the surface, it appears to be a crowded backfield.
Yeah, I've been pooing on these day 2 receivers that are still left, but I will take Isaac Tesla here. I think mid 4th round is a good time to take a shot on somebody who I didn't like the talent profile on, but when you look at where he landed in Detroit and think about look at his athletic profile, how he plays, think about how he can fit into that offense, I don't hate what I'm looking at. They need that kind of more full-time boundary guy that isn't, more of a decoy like Jameson Williams and not more of a slot heavy guy like Amon-Ra St. Brown. So not the pick I would have made for them, not a pick I love making here in the 4th round even, but calculated bets, I suppose. You could take him at the end of the 3rd round and I wouldn't get too upset about it. I just don't want to do it.
And just because I'm not a huge fan of the prospect, but I can't deny if a team takes him early on day 3 in the 4th round, Trevor Etienne, Chuba Hubbard's the lead running back there. So I suppose, even though I like Chuba Hubbard, I suppose there's a chance that Trevor Etienne gets some touches in year 1. So I think that's worth it here in the 4th round. I'll throw it to you.
You can't deny when they take him early in the day 3 when they're running back, but when they're a receiver, they go in the fucking garbage can. Let's take. I got Jordan James high,
Nice.
the
That's
next
a nice
player
pick.
in my rankings right now. I really like the landing spot in San Francisco. Once he got to the 5th round, I was like, I don't know what to think about Jordan James right now. Probably nothing burger. Then he got taken by San Francisco and it was like, wow, we are just all the way back.
Yeah, I like that pick quite a bit. I'm gonna very similarly take along the same lines, which is what similarly means. I like being redundant. DJ Giddens, who Jonathan Taylor has not been the picture of health the last couple of years. So getting a player that I thought should have been drafted a lot higher in DJ Giddens in the NFL draft, not in this draft, but NFL draft, feels like a good value here. I will throw it to you.
I'm going to go with I can't do it. This is going to be stupid, but I'm going to take Xavier Restrepo.
Oh, wow. Xavier Restrepo.
Shower narrative.
So where did he end up?
The media narrative has already been started. Do not be shocked when Xavier Restrepo is a starting slot receiver for this team. It's been there.
Where did he? Am I just blanking on where he went?
Tennessee with Cam.
Oh, Tennessee. Okay.
The big headline though is that he was an undrafted free agent. I don't know why that happened, and that makes my bet at 4.8 probably dog poop. But it's still the back end of the 4th round. And look, I'll take a calculated bet over some of these other guys that Cam Ward just likes Xavier Restrepo. And if Restrepo can put the work in and get on the field, he's going to get targets from Cam Ward. And I almost took Savion Williams because it's he was drafted in the 3rd round, but the depth chart's a mess and I think he sucks. So I don't know. I'll go with Xavier Restrepo.
I don't love it. But
I know you don't, but that's okay.
Well, no,
I'm not going to put a fight with you on that one. I'm not going to.
I was talking about my pick. All right. It's not everything's about you, Matt Babbage. Pat Bryant. I don't understand why the Broncos made this pick. I'm not a huge fan of the prospect, but third round, in a receiving room with Cortland Sutton, Marvin Mims, Devon Vele. So he's going to have some opportunity, I would imagine, with Bo Nix. So there you go.
Here I will take Savion Williams.
There you go.
At a certain point, he was a third round draft pick, and you just gotta, sometimes it's okay at the end of the fourth round to take players that you don't like. I'll say that.
And I am torn here, but I'm gonna, and I didn't initially have this guy in my 4-round rookie mock that I did on my channel, but there we go. I did it.
I was gonna do it next. I was gonna do it to end the draft.
And I will say there's absolutely no effing way that he gets that far in, because there's going to be somebody, there's going to be somebody who's going to take him. I was like, I know if he gets the opportunity with Cleveland, he's going to win the starting job. I know it. But anyway, last pick.
I like Torrey Horton a lot, actually, in Seattle. I think that was a good depth chart for him to potentially land on. By the way, this whole time I've been talking about Seattle. You know who I've never remembered? That Cooper Kupp is a Seahawk. That's just like dawning on me. So that makes my bet a lot worse here. But interesting that I remember that just now. But Torrey Horton, still probably a better bet at the end of the fourth round than like Brashard Smith, who was a 7th round pick. As much as I love Brashard Smith and as much as I love the Jerick McKinnon comps, probably got to be real on that one.
Yeah, and there's players and even that are still on the board that I like. Kyle Mononga didn't get drafted. I thought about taking him. You talked about Brashard Smith. I think Taj Brooks going to Cincinnati is interesting. Raheem Sanders, Rocket Sanders ending up with Carolina. Marcus Yarns goes undrafted. Honestly, don't know if he's signed with anybody yet. We'll see. Maybe I'm just missing something. And then Damian Martinez as well, going to the Seahawks in round 7. Like those guys are all going to be 5th round picks probably, and if you have a 5th round rookie draft. But we just did 4 rounds tonight. Mr. Babich, any final thoughts? Recapping this draft, how do you think it? How do you think?
He did sign as of this morning. Do you know where he signed? New Orleans.
Oh, baby.
Interesting. Devin Neal, you are on notice.
Marcus Yarns is coming for everybody's jobs.
I mean, it's not going to be hard.
It's
not going to be hard to take Kendre Miller's job. But
I don't understand. Marcus Yarns is a pretty good player, so I don't. Whatever.
Well, I mean, we got some pretty coveted backs like Ollie Gordon going in the 6th round. Like,
so stupid.
Once we got to that point in the 5th, 6th round, like I knew Yarns and Brashard Smith were going to be borderline undrafted.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, it's unfortunate, but true. Matt Babich, go follow him at Babich_Matt10 on Twitter. You can follow me at Seth_DIEWOLD. You can follow the show on Twitter at FF Dynasty Table. Matt Babich, and click like and subscribe. Do it now. Now. Don't wait. Do it now. Right now. Matt Babich, any final words of wisdom before we get out of here?
I mean, just tell me how bad I did.
Just tell us how bad we did.
And put it in the chat. This is actually serious. Put in the chat if you think the running backs should not be pushed down as much as they may have been in our conversations. Is Seth overreacting to some of the running backs? You let us know.
Let us know. Comment below. I promise you I will get back to every single comment. I always do. So that is going to do it for us. But the story of Dynasty continues. And Matt, I meant to do this at the beginning of the show, but I was trying to come up with a catchy slogan to bring you in, something to do with the King of Dynasty Soul. And I was thinking of The Rock, Dwayne The Rock Johnson storyline where it just went off the rails, and he like, I want your soul, Cody. I want your soul. Like, so I was gonna say something like, Matt Babbage wants to steal your dynasty team's soul. He's the stealer of souls of the dynasty teams because he's the king of soul in dynasty. I don't know. It makes no.
We are off the rails at the ending of the show as we usually are.
It makes no sense, which is why I like it. Like we said, comment below, click the like button, subscribe. Nobody cares about Aaron Rodgers, and we will see you later. Have a great morning, evening, or night, or afternoon, wherever you are in your day. Make it a great part of it. Bye-bye, everybody.